Hello, my name is Minzy, and this is a funeral tie. And as stated after Aston Villa's 2-1 defeat of Chelsea, I said the next video will be more positive. And what better way to be positive than to talk about Bangladesh's Champions Trophy campaign? I decided to lump it all under one title rather than give separate titles for the defeat against India, the defeat against New Zealand, and all right, the Pakistan one was a washout regardless, but decided to lump it all under one umbrella and just call it Bangladesh's Champions Trophy campaign, because I foresaw the fact that we were going to be an absolute disaster class in this entire tournament. So whilst there is a little bit of anger and disgruntlement at how Bangladesh truly performed miserably in this Champions Trophy campaign, at the same time, it was kind of expected, really. And this all came about after our bilateral series loss to Afghanistan at home in Dhaka just before the 2023 ODI World Cup in India. I think the incident took place, when was it? I think it took place in the summer of 2022. But actually, I'm going to go all the way back to 2015 to an ODI series where we beat India at home 2-1. That was, I think, was believed just after the World Cup in 2015, where arguably Bangladesh had their greatest ever World Cup when they went to the quarterfinals and lost to India. That's where I'm going to really start, because before all of that nonsense, before all of that sort of thing culminated, I think a lot of teams who know Bangladesh cricket kind of saw them as a team that tries hard but never gets the results, and they've always had fans that were beyond optimistic, even if the optimism was very well misplaced, but they were always optimistic and support Bangladesh from the beginning to the end, even if it was in a losing cause, which it was for 9 times out of 10 that Bangladesh would play. But ever since that series winning as India in 2015, I have seen absolute nonsense in terms from both the cricketers and the supporters, in terms of attitude, in terms of performance, in terms of mentality, and in terms of playing pedigree, because everything was just wrong ever since that great result against India back in 2015. Since then, it has spiraled out of control, because after that win against India, they then progressed and they beat South Africa at home, and then they beat Pakistan at home, and suddenly they looked like a decent outfit for once in their lifetime in limited overs cricket. I think they then lost to England 2-1 at home. Quite, it was quite a fiery series. They then drew the Test series 1-1 with England, which was the first time that Bangladesh had beaten England in a Test series. They then subsequently played Australia at home for 2 tests, and they drew that 1-1 as well. It was the first time that Bangladesh beat Australia in a test match there and then. And since then, they had okay-ish ODI results, home and abroad. Okay. And then I think just before that Afghanistan series, they had played South Africa away in December 21, where they broke 2 records. They beat South Africa in their home ground for the first time, and then not only that, they got a series win at South Africa in their home ground 2-1. All right, that was an achievement in its own right, an own class, really. And you might say I was a little bit deluded, but I genuinely thought that Bangladesh could be dark horse. I didn't think they would win the 2023 ODI World Cup, but I would have put them as little dark horses that shouldn't have been underestimated, because that was peak Bangladesh. That was peak Bangladesh. And then it all fell apart in absolute clownness, in absolute comedy. Okay, we had arguably a stable, well-drilled, well-performing ODI unit that just self-crashed. Okay, you had the coach at the time having a go at Tamim Iqbal and his sort of behaviour and attitude, and then told him to get lost, and then there was this whole drama left, right and centre. You had infighting and chaos within the whole team itself. You had Shakib saying one thing, calling Tamim out, and overall it just wasn't a nice dressing room. All that just a couple of months before the World Cup. And it was really, really, really bad to see that there was a lot of we suddenly went from a stable ODI playing team to a team that has just been absolutely collapsed in and of itself. There was mutiny amongst the team itself. I then had to retract the statement and go, we're going to go from dark horses to absolute embarrassment, really, which is what they did. They went into that 2023 ODI World Cup and it was an absolute farce. They had lost almost every single one of their games. The only two games that they won were against Afghanistan and against Sri Lanka. And even that game against Sri Lanka was a farce in its own right, with the whole Angela Matthews timeout scenario. Whereas Sri Lanka and all of this thinking, why the fuck are Bangladesh in the Champions Trophy when we should be in there? And you know what? I hear them. I absolutely hear them. They really should be in this tournament. Because I guarantee you, I think they might have beaten New Zealand. I think they might have also beaten Pakistan. I think they could have, with India, gone through to the semi-finals. I really do. I also think West Indies were also claiming, well, why couldn't we have had a shot at the Champions Trophy as opposed to Bangladesh? I also too think they could have beaten Pakistan and New Zealand and gone ahead with India through to the semi-finals. I really do. We have taken a spot over two other credible nations. The only reason why we're in it is because we timed out the Sri Lanka's captain. All right? That's the only reason. That's the only reason why Bangladesh are in the Champions Trophy. But hey ho, we are in it, and of course we got embarrassed the entire tournament, and it was almost comical, it was almost farcical. But before I touch upon that, I'd like to touch upon the fans. Because whereas before the fans were seen as somebody who would be optimistic and, you know, supporting the team all the way, suddenly got a little bit too big for their own boots. We all got a little bit carried away. We all got very, very, very carried away ever since that India series win back in 2015. All right? Whereas before they had a little bit of respect for us, now that respect has gone down the toilet hole, and we kind of brought it upon ourselves, really. You know, just before the 2016 Asia Cup final, you see a cartoon diagram of Taskin holding a decapitated MS Dhoni's head. Behave yourselves, for fuck's sake. Behave yourselves. MS Dhoni is one of the most world-respected and most feared wicket-keepers and batsmen that India have produced. His six down the ground against Sri Lanka to help India win the World Cup was something to behold. It was beautiful, that shot he made. You know, he's loved by India and he's well respected all around the world, and you're producing effigies like that. Jesus Christ, I have no idea what to say, really. You know, and there's been a few little pokes at the Indian fan base which I really, really, really disapprove of, and I really don't like watching. All right, we have no right to do that. I'm sorry. Look at what India have achieved. They have, since their World Cup win in 2011, they've been to countless semi-finals and finals. They've recently won the T20 World Cup in South Africa, and they're now in the semi-finals of a Champions Trophy. They need to behave. The fans need to behave themselves. The fans need to behave themselves. And why is it that as fans we get so happy when India and Sri Lanka lose, or Afghanistan lose? We poke fun of them losing. Why? Are you lot actually okay in the head? I don't care about other nations losing. I want to see Bangladesh winning, and we're nowhere near going to be winning anytime soon. And you're laughing and celebrating that they're losing. Like I saw in the fan park when, what was it? When Australia beat India in the World Cup final, in the fan park, you had Bangladeshis celebrating, dancing, singing songs that India lost the World Cup final. Hello, they got to a final and played it. We got nowhere near the final. What are you lot doing? It's shameful. It's actually shameful that I have to see scenes like this. Like, I hate to be political and I hate to be historical, but hello, go back to 1971 and 72. What happened then and who helped us then? Just think for yourselves for one tiny little second before you start celebrating India and Sri Lanka thing. And Sri Lanka, for another thing, it is very hard to piss off Sri Lanka. They're the most accommodating, most hospitable, most welcoming, nation in the whole wide world. And you've managed to piss them off. That takes some doing. That really does take some doing. And that comes from the players and fans alike. I mean, the fans being obnoxious as they are, doing all these little snake dances. All right, that the fact that you had players on Sri Lankan's Nidahas Independence Day sort of tournament where they invited India and Bangladesh through, right? And in the penultimate game between Sri Lanka and Bangladesh to see who would play India in the final, Bangladesh eventually came through and beat Sri Lanka. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part for them was the fact that they invited us. And what did? We trashed their dressing room. So we thrashed their dressing room. We broke the glass mirror of the dressing room. We were instigating fights by dancing in front of the Sri Lankan players and mocking them. I mean, how on earth have we managed to piss off Sri Lanka like this? It's just outrageous, because on an economic and political stage, there's no beef. They harbour good trade, they harbour good sort of political relations with one another. But on the cricket, they go off and embarrass themselves like this. And then culminated with the whole timeout scenario. It's just pathetic. They have managed to piss off, Bangladesh have managed to piss off every single cricket nation. Before, there was a bit of respect for us, and like the fact that we try hard but not quite get the results, and are good passionate supporters, to we become an embarrassment across the world stage. We need to take 5 million steps back and behave ourselves, man. It's just pathetic. I hate watching our supporters behave the way they do. It's just immoral, it's incorrect, and they really need to get their heads out of their backsides. Behave yourselves. Honestly, behave yourselves. It's not nice to watch. In accordance with the 3 games that we played, like I said, it was pathetic. Against India, I barely finished my night shift. I finished my night shift at 8 o'clock in the morning. I come staggering home at 9 o'clock when the game kicked off, and I already see Bangladesh are 2 runs and 2 wickets down. It became 35 for 5, and I just turned the bloody TV screen off. Quite how they got to 228 all out, I was shocked. I was genuinely shocked. I thought Jakar Ali and Tawhid Hriday did amazing to get Bangladesh anywhere near above 200. I'll be very honest with you. I was shocked as a lemming when I saw that we posted a respectable scorecard up. But it was never enough to beat a formidable Indian side with batters galore. And then against New Zealand, it started off okay with a strong sort of opening partnership in the first 10 overs, 45 for no wickets lost. But they lost too many wickets in the middle overs. There are too many dot balls. And the only way that Bangladesh were trying to score runs off a dot ball was to manufacture a shot. They couldn't convert a good ball into a single. Whereas New Zealand were converting a good ball into a single. And that's why they won the game comfortably. And they didn't lose clusters of wickets left, right and centre. Also, the fielding for the India-New Zealand game was lamentable. simple drop catches. Mamadullah against New Zealand of Ravindra, what was it? Rachin Ravindra. And then a simple dolly of a catch to Jacquard Ali against India. And it just dropped from his hands. I mean, this is things that you can't really teach. It should be bread and butter, like those kind of catches. It wasn't last at them. It was a nice, simple catch, and it spilled from their hands. It's like key stage 2 cricket that they can't really do or perform. It is what it is, really. It's been like that for a while. And like I said, had we played Pakistan, we'd have lost that game too quite comfortably. But as such, rain saved the day, thankfully. Yeah, I don't know what to say. Top order not firing under any circumstances. Zeros all across the board. And the one thing that annoys me is the fact that we retain Mamadullah and Musfiqur Rahim. They're ancient history. 2023 should have been their last World Cup. 2023 World Cup should have been their last ever international tournament outing, and yet we still persisted with them. And they haven't announced their retirement yet. They really ought to. I don't want to see Mamadullah and Musfiqur Rahim anywhere near a cricket tournament ever again. Time and time they've disappointed, and again they've disappointed. Musfiqur Rahim had 2 innings of 0 and 2. Or was it 1? I can't even remember. Mamadullah was injured for the first game, and he comes back and he scores a 2. And they both got out to ridiculous shots. It's just... why are they there? Why are they there? You know? I think we need to start listening to criticisms. And I'll give one. Let me just pop up sort of Virender Sehwag's sort of criticism, where he says, I don't think there would have been even 1% of fear in the hearts of any fans during the match against Bangladesh and India. All right? It's facts. There wasn't any fear. There wasn't any fear before the game. There certainly wasn't during the batting phase for Bangladesh, and there wasn't any during the run chase. There just was never going to be any fear, because time and time again during ICC events, Bangladesh crumble. They always have this fear factor. He's absolutely correct. Even against, even with Ricky Ponting, he said, what was it? That we'll struggle in the Champions Trophy, and that the talent's not there, and that Afghanistan will have a better Champions Trophy campaign than us. And he was right there. Afghanistan were 1 game away from going through to the semi-finals. They beat England. Remember England and Australia saying that they're not going to tour Afghanistan, or they shouldn't be playing against Afghanistan because of the political situation there. And look what Afghanistan did. They had a fantastic campaign. They should be proud of themselves. But I think the one that I am going to touch upon is Dinesh Karthik, where they asked him, do they think it's time for the 2 M's, referring to Mamadullah and Musfiqur, to, let them go, kind of. Was it the end for the 2 M's? And he says, for the health of their cricket, I would say yes. They need to look ahead, give their younger players opportunities and allow them to grow. Constant chopping and changing won't help. These players need time to develop. And he singled Tanzil Hassan, Tawhid Hridoy and Jacquard Ali as the talents that were coming through to the team. And he's absolutely right. Honestly, we need to start listening to these people. Fans, players, the new BCB management after the revolution. We need to start listening to these people, because they make absolute sense. They talk facts. Really, that whole team should just be built around Mahedi Hassan Miraz, Taskin Amin, Mustafizur Rahman, Nahid Rana, Jacquard Ali, Tawhid Hridoy. Those are your core. Give Tanzil Hassan Saqib a little bit of a chance, because he scored 25 against New Zealand, India. But then he got out. He had a start, but he didn't finish. But at least there's something there. We just need to tell him, okay, once you get a start, just dig in, and then as soon as you get your big score, start launching it out the ground. Because I can see some sort of promise there for him, but he still needs a little bit of tweaking here or there. All right, fans need to start listening. They need to start behaving as well. Stop trying to aggravate other nations, man. Stop trying to aggravate other nations. It's not like we've got a rich ICC history, you know. And our records against all the test playing nations is lamentable. It's embarrassing. Like, stop it. All right, and players are like, stop pissing off the opposition unnecessarily. You know, it's not nice to watch. It's not nice to watch. Where do I see Bangladesh cricket in the next couple of years? On the downside, unless they start listening. Because if they listen to what Dinesh Karthik said, he spoke absolute facts. I think what they need to do is the current crop of under-19 players that is being led by Richard Stonia, what I ideally want is them to continue to grow. Because Richard Stonia, that lovely Englishman from Stoke, he knows how to galvanise these Bangladeshi youngsters. I want him to stay with these lot. Let them listen to him, let them develop that firepower, right? And let them grow underneath him, so that by the time they come to, like, you know, in their mid-20s and stuff, they can just take over the Bangladesh team completely. If I'm being honest with you, they might even win something in an ICC major tournament. They've already won the World Cup. They've won 2 back-to-back Asia Cups. I think the future just lies with... That's what I ideally want, but I don't think it's going to happen. But that's what should happen. And lo and behold, if I didn't have Bangladesh winning, I wanted England to win, and they finished bottom of the group as well. Oh dear, nothing from my side is going to be winning anytime soon. Josh Butler has obviously resigned as captain. Sad to see him go. He was a quality captain. I think he's got a lot of, you know, firepower. He's got a lot of talent, but it just didn't work one way or the other under him. When it mattered the most, it just didn't work. I mean, against Australia, as opposed to 350, and they still lost. And they lost to Afghanistan quite agonisingly, and then they completely collapsed and folded against South Africa. But that's probably more understandable. Once you're out kind of thing. But yeah, negative. Oh well, let's keep up the negative trend and talk about Chelsea versus Leicester City. Hooray! Until then, goodbye and good night.